18 aspirants have picked forms to contest for the ticket of the APC in the forthcoming governorship election that's in Kogi State. The aspirants who picked the expression of interest forms at 50 million naira each had their screenings concluded on Saturday. Notable among those seeking to take over from the incumbent Governor Yahaya Bello are Senator Smart Adeyemi, Senator Yakubu Oseni, current Deputy Governor of the state Edward Onoja, James Abiodun Faleke, and Professor Stephen Ocheni, among others.
And joining us in the studio to discuss, of course, the issue with Kogi State, the right person, if you ask me, Mustapha Audu. He's a member of the All Progressives Congress, and of course, he's also a member of the committee that eventually those who get screened out and have issues would have to go to. So the reason why this conversation is good we're having it with you. Thank you so much, Mustapha, for joining us tonight on the program. And of course, as we look forward to, of course, the first off-season election post 2023 general elections, which of course your party has won. But let's talk about Kogi State. Is there a power rotation in Kogi State with regards to who decides the governor? And if your answer is yes, so what zone really should be producing the next governor of your state?
First of all, good evening, Amaka. Great to be here. Good evening, Nigerians. Thank you for having me. Congratulations to all Nigerians for relatively peaceful elections. For Kogi State, there are 3 zones. From the east, which is the Igala zone, we're the biggest in population. Then there's the central, where our current governor is from, and the west. Currently, the central is occupying it, and the east has had it. So there's agitation from the west to have it so that the tripod is balanced. But at the end of the day, it's the decision of the party and the leaders of the party. However they decide, with the advent of BVAS, we already know that the electoral process is fixing up. It's very difficult to cheat the system. So you have to make the right calculation to put the right people that would be able to appeal to the citizens that will vote. So regardless of the zone, it has to be someone who is most acceptable. A lot of people are agitating from the west right now, which you can see why.
They've mostly been deputy governors.
Absolutely,
most of the time.
Absolutely. Most of the time they've been deputy governors. That's why there's a strong agitation from the west as well. Kogi East as well has been agitating. Late Prince Abakar Audu won the election, but then passed on the eve of the declaration. So the Kogi East feel a bit entitled to the position because they were supposed to get it, but then it moved on. So you have these things, but the best way around this is dialogue. It's politics. You must dialogue with those people. 18 people have bought form. That's 900 million naira. It's a lot of money in these very difficult times, you know. So you have to dialogue. It will be disenfranchising 17 people to not dialogue and put them on the same table. So we expect that our leaders will do the right thing. So I wouldn't say it should go to zone A or zone B. All I would say is that let's come together. We are one party. We're not factions of the same party. We're one party, and the only way we can win this is together, especially with BFAS. It's going to be very difficult. And the standalone elections, there's no excuse for INEC anymore. Whatever mistakes they've made it. You cannot repeat those mistakes. Nigerians know. Every single Nigerian will be watching. They will be active in these off-season elections. There's Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo State, and all the eyes of Nigerians. I don't think INEC will be let off the hook if they don't perform. Therefore, all political parties must work together. Without that, you're going to lose. So if we don't work together as a party, if we don't bring all the people together and take into consideration the agitations of the stakeholders, because it's very critical. A zone one.
The agitation, and I was going to say that as perhaps something needs to be done, and quickly too, because when you look at it, Kogi East has held the position for 4 terms.
Absolutely.
Now Kogi Central is asking to hold it for 4 terms as well to create that balance, whereas Kogi West hasn't had it at all. So what are you people doing to ensure that this does not escalate?
I think at the end of this screening process and before the primaries, there's going to be a meeting of aspirants. We're going to put all the aspirants together and at least have an idea of the reasons for their aspirations, and their capacity. Going into the primaries, we don't want to come out of the primaries with rancor. Whoever emerges, there can only be one winner. You can have two winners at the end of the primaries. But it depends on how those primaries are conducted. If it's conducted by carrying people along, even if he ends up being at the central, as long as those 18 people in the race are all carried along, are all part of the process, I think there'll be very little rancor. But if people feel disenfranchised, that's after the primaries, you see them trying to either factionalize the party or move to other parties to give them support to fight our party. That is the least of what we want to happen. We don't want that at all. But you are right, you know, there has to be consideration for the other zones. It's the Nigerian equation. That's why these elections spat out the figures we saw. Certain zones, religion, young people, they came into play. Young people felt neglected. You know, I'm a young person, I've been in politics, and I know the challenges that young people face. We do all the work, we do everything, but at the end of the day, the people that occupy, the people that occupy the position, they don't even have the capacity to deliver. So this is what we're appealing to our leaders in the party and in the state, to look at the contestants running, to take them as one family, whoever it is, whatever the situation is, let us work together and find harmony in that.
Absolutely, because your party was one of the biggest losers in 2019 in Zamfara and River State because of internal party wranglings.
Absolutely.
But you know what, I want to ask you this question. Does the power dynamics at the center sort of influence what happens in the state? I ask you that because James Falike, of course, he people are asking about his chance because he was your father's deputy at the time. So we thought, you know, it was going to go to him. But of course, we saw how everything played out.
To be honest, I know he's one of the people that bought the forum. I don't believe he has come for screening yet, so I don't know if he's going to go ahead and run for the position. But at the end of the day, he's a strong contender. Just like you said, sometimes the center has, you know, a say in what goes on, which is rightly so. You know, you consider Nigeria like the father of all. So anybody leading at the top would want to influence in some way what is going on in the states. President Muhammadu Buhari tried to take his foot off and allow the states to conduct themselves in the way that they felt was best. And sometimes we've seen the positive sides of it, and sometimes we've seen the extremely negative side of it. So sometimes it's good to have, if you look at the 2015 example of the Senate and what happened there, Mr. President refused to have a say in it. And then for the first time, we had our party as Senate President and then the opposition party as Deputy Senate President. So sometimes if the center doesn't wade in, you would have rancor that leads to something else. So we have a president-elect, we have a president, the party is leading the state, and the state did fantastically well in terms of the results produced. Kogi State, I know I delivered my polling unit, and I know a lot of people delivered for the party their polling unit. So right now, it's an APC state with majority APC in the House. So if we don't, it's ours to lose, basically. So if we don't treat it right, if we don't take into consideration the aspirations of those from the West and from the East, I feel we should have power. But it's critical that we take into consideration what the West feel and what the center feels. It's extremely important. That is how this marriage of convenience happens. That is how we can manage ourselves, yes, across the finish line. Because if we don't have proper alliance, you know, then we're going to face a problem, and most likely the opposition will want to capitalize on this problem. So I've always been an advocate for young people, and I've always been an advocate for equity. Let's take the considerations of the West and the center along to make sure that we have a united house to face the elections head on and win. Our target is to win and deliver good governance to Nigerians. The only way we can do that is by working hand in hand with the party members. 900 million, like I said, is a lot of money in this extremely difficult economy.
Now, talking about good governance, delivering good governance, The current governor has been lauded for gender inclusion. Absolutely. And of course carrying young people along.
Absolutely.
But also, when you look at, I want us to look at your party's chances. Yeah. Right now, when you look at certain controversies around COVID-19 vaccines and vaccination and all that, the controversies weaved around the current governor and some other allegations. What do you make of your chances?
To be honest, I think our chances are pretty good. You know, we have not done too badly, you know, just like you said. If you look at gender equality, this is the first state that all the vice chairmen are women. If you look at the cabinet, his cabinet is filled with a lot of young people, you know. But obviously, like every human being, there are things that, you know, they're very good at, and there are things that are not so good at. Just like you said, some controversies have emerged. We believe that these controversies are not enough to you know, get rid of us, you know, from Kogi State. A lot of us are invested heavily in the success of the party, and we will contribute our own quota. It's not a one-man job. He can't do it himself. He needs people. He needs generals. He needs, you know, captains. He needs people that can do the work, both in politics and in business, and especially young people, because young people are the drivers of the success of anything in Nigeria. The engine room are young people. So as long as he capitalizes on this, which you've seen from his antecedents that he favors a lot of young people.
He's a young person himself.
He's a young person himself, yes. But there's not a lot of young people that give other young people a chance. Young people were our biggest problem. We have that pull him down syndrome. We're jealous of each other. We're in active competition.
Is it just a young person's problem, really?
Young people and women, actually. Oof, you know.
Mustapha
Audu. The guys have a way of doing this, you know.
Audu, of course, member of the All Progressives Congress, we say thank you for your in-depth analysis tonight on the program.